Thank you so much for again just giving us the opportunity to celebrate together. It's such a special night. A couple of Mondays ago, this is how my month of December began. I don't know what your month of December has looked to you, or even 2014. But for me, the month of December has been a little unique, very unique in multiple ways. I actually introduced this picture to our congregation on a Sunday morning about almost a month ago, because the first Monday of December I was invited to participate and to speak at what is called a holiday memorial service. And one of our memorial homes, one of our funeral homes in town, asked me to come and do what they have done for the last 14 years, which is to host the first Monday of the month of December, to host a memorial service where they bring basically the family members of every individual that has passed by the funeral home in that year. So what you see in the picture is basically a few minutes prior to the beginning of the service, and every single one of those persons and every one of these families, they had in common that they have lost somebody through 2014. And the question that I brought before them that night is the question that I want us to still think about for a second, because I believe that regardless of where you are on a Christmas season, I believe the focal point of everything that we do and everything that we have done and everything that we will do for 2015 is still the glory of God. Now, if that's the case, this picture is what I believe represents the life of every one of us. Those who are still breathing, those who are still present, those who are still here with us, and you are obviously one of them. See, what happens is life is always lived. Life is always portrayed in the context of what we call unresolved tension. And this picture exemplifies unresolved tension because here you are as a mother. Here you are as a father. Here you are as a grandchild, moving through the month of December, which is, according to culture, the most beautiful time of the year. But this particular year, you're going to face it without her or without him. So in the midst of grief, you're going to celebrate. In the midst of loss, you have to find yourself joyful. So how do you do that? How do you bring this unresolved tension? Now, let me be very straight with you tonight. And again, I hope that you can listen to what I'm about to say to you in the next few minutes. The Bible, the Word of God, was written in that context of unresolved tension. The problem is not the unresolved tension. Please listen. The problem is that we, especially Westerners, we, in the 21st century, we have a tendency to try to resolve that tension. What does that mean? That implies that if you are going right now through a season where you find yourself, again, moving in one direction because of financial struggles, because of relationship challenges, but on the other hand, you are looking into a brighter 2015 and you are moving into the uncertainty or potentially getting married. And you have all this uncertainty and this tension, and we try to get an either-or mindset. What the Bible was written in that context, except the Bible typically doesn't try to resolve. So let me give you an example. Jesus comes into the picture and speaks through the Gospels, and he basically says, if you want to be the first one, you're going to have to be the... Okay, so which of the two are you supposed to be? That's unresolved tension. We want to translate those words and say, well, I'm either the winner or I'm either the loser. So which of the two? And Jesus says, well, it's kind of a both and instead of a either or. Now, here's what I want you to hear just from me. Just listen, please. Because I'm going to take you into the passage that I believe portrays the reason why we go through these things in life. The glory of God is what's going to give you the strength, the ability to move through life in the middle of unresolved tension. Now, I want to read to you something that is not going to be on the screen. And I just want to read to you these passages because they really speak deep into my heart, and I'm going to tell you why. Now, we read some of this already, but I want to read some more. This is the chapter 2 chapter 2 of the Gospel of Luke. Listen to this. It's not on the screen, so just listen for a moment. In those days, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that a census should be taken of the entire Roman world. What does that imply? Glad you asked. Verse 2. This was the first census that took place while Quirinius was governor of Syria. Verse 3. Which implied that every single person went to his own town to register. Now this is where it gets really, really tricky and difficult for me to read. Verse 4. So Joseph also went up from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to Bethlehem, the town of David. Why? This is why. Because he, Joseph, belonged to the house and line of David. Now some of you are tonight in this place visiting family. Some of our church members have gone other places to visit family. So for us as a generation, we love family. So somehow this passage is telling us that Joseph, because of political reasons, government reasons, civic reasons, he has to go and see family. He goes back to his home town. And that might be good news, except when you have a pregnant woman. Not you're just a pregnant woman, but listen to this story. Now he went there to register with Mary, here we go, who was pledged to be married to him and was expecting a child. Well, they were there, the time came for the baby to be born. And she, Mary, gave birth to her firstborn, a son. And Mary grabbed him in clothes and placed him in a manger. The reason why, because there was no room for them in the inn. Here is why this story just hits home deeply into my soul. I am the oldest of 3. I have 2 beautiful sisters that I deeply love. I love my sisters. We used to fight a lot, but I still love them. Obviously, I was the victim. I know I have issues, but I'm working on them still. Both of my sisters have gone through the tragedy of losing babies. They both have experienced extremely difficult pregnancies. So when I read something like this, and I listen to the drama of carrying this young woman with a child, and the possibility of not making it because every single thing is moving in the opposite direction of what our typical scenario of pregnant ladies go through right now. See, I explained to you a couple of Sundays ago that we have 9 pregnancies going on in our campus, in our services, in our church right now. A lot of pregnancies, beautiful things coming our way. And I know that we try our very best to treat those ladies and those beautiful babies coming with the best of care. So I'm listening to this and I'm reading this on a season like this. And I cannot help but think about my sisters. And think about the grief when I have been standing by the graveside in Hope, Arkansas for the first of their child to be buried. And then this 2014 to be standing in Edinburgh to bury our second beautiful baby because they did not make it. The crazy thing about it is that right from there, from that kind of a tension, that kind of a situation that is difficult to process, and I can only imagine Joseph taking this pregnant woman into this journey. The Bible takes you into the bright side of the story. See, this part of the story to me was a little difficult to read. But then I go into the brightness. See, this is where the unresolved tension of both ends comes into the picture. Difficulty. Forced to travel. No room for them in the inn. The baby's born. In the middle of all this, and here is the good news. Listen to the scriptures. Verse 8. And there were shepherds. And these shepherds that were living out in the field nearby. And they were keeping watch over their flocks at 9. See, what happens is when you go through the unresolved tension of life, as you move into 2015, and if you are the type of individual, I want you to listen to this from the bottom of my, it's Christmas, okay? My heart, I'm just going to speak to you from the deepest of my soul. Stop thinking that you got 2015 figured out. Do yourself a favor. All that I'm asking you, I'm not inviting tragedy. I'm not inviting this, name it and claim it theology. See, I'm not moving any of the extremes in here on that. All that I'm saying, learn to embrace the glory of God, because it is the glory of God, the presence of God through Jesus Christ that creates traction in the midst of unresolved tension. In other words, here's what I'm trying to warn and to help you understand. If you disregard the birth, the coming, advent of Jesus Christ, because you and I know that unresolved tension is unavoidable, you're going to have a tendency to pick and choose one of the two, and at the end, you're going to finish 2015 very disappointed. Very disappointed. So the glory of God, listen to me, manifests in very unique ways. Number one is the issue that He chooses people with bad reputation. Do you know what these shepherds were? I mean, shepherds literally are people who will never hold any public office. That's it. I mean, historically, these people will never run for anything. This is the group of people that nobody wanted to do business with them, because everybody in town assumed that whatever they possessed was stolen. They were perceived as thieves. Shepherds is the kind of people that literally were not allowed into the temple because they were perceived, and again, they built a reputation that they have a very deprived lifestyle. Bottom line, shepherds are simply the folks that you will not allow your baby girl to date. She ain't taking him, he's not taking your girl to prom this year. You don't want to hang out with shepherds. And ironically, verse 8 says that God, once the baby is born, the first thing that God does, He turns to those who are marginalized, those who are outsiders. And that's what I'm asking you tonight. If you're going to embrace Christmas as a whole, stop thinking that Christmas is something that you deserve. See, for you to qualify to know the baby boy, you have to begin the conversation that you are not neither the Magi, neither, whoever you see in the manger. You are an outsider. You're an outcast. You and I, we have been segregated because of sin, because of trespasses, because of our brokenness, because of our reputation. And this is what God is going to use. This is just crazy to me. This is what really, really describes to me the mercy and the glory of God. Now, if this is where the glory of God begins, with shepherds, I want you to see what happens once God chooses these people. In other words, what I want you to understand is that, see, God did not choose political, religious leaders to show Himself to right after the baby is born. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, if it makes any difference to you, but I'm trying for you to understand that this is the time where we stop labeling people. See, the mercy and the grace of God is what helps us to understand that this is the moment where we move into understanding that the glory of God is for everyone. It's available to every single person. Now, the question is, what does the glory of God produce? Let you ask. The angel of the Lord. Again, the shepherds are minding their own business on verse 8. Verse 9, the angel of the Lord shows up and appears before them, and the glory of the Lord, come on, listen, the glory of the Lord is magnified around them. Once God shows up, please listen. Once God truly, honestly shows up, parentheses, I gotta go my commercial. Would you please look at with me for a second?